Have you ever heard of an incident where more than 100 people saw the same ghost? Not once, not twice, but multiple times? This isn't just another creepy urban legend or a spooky story whispered around a campfire. This is real, documented, witnessed, and terrifying. This is the chilling tale of the ghost of Flight 401, a haunting so mysterious it not only survived death, it flew again. It was the night of December 29, 1972. Eastern Airlines. Flight 401, a massive Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, prepared for a routine flight from New York's JFK Airport to Miami, Florida. On board were 163 passengers and 13 crew members. At the helm were some of the airline's most experienced personnel: Captain Bob Loft, First Officer Bert Stockstill, and Flight Engineer Don Repo. The flight took off without a hitch. The sky was clear, the weather calm. Inside the aircraft, people relaxed, chatted, or drifted off to sleep, completely unaware that they were heading toward one of the most tragic and paranormal incidents in aviation history. As the plane approached Miami, the crew prepared for landing. That's when the first technical hiccup appeared. The nose landing gear indicator light, the small green light that tells pilots the gear is down and locked, didn't come on. It might seem like a minor issue, but in aviation, every light, every signal, every system matters. Captain Loft, thinking it was just a faulty bulb, switched on the autopilot and instructed the crew to investigate the panel. All three men focused their attention on the small compartment. What no one realized was that during this confusion, someone accidentally nudged the control column, disengaging the autopilot. As the crew tried to fix a tiny bulb, the plane silently started to descend, lower and lower, unnoticed. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. At 11:42 p.m., Flight 401 crashed into the dark waters and muddy terrain of the Florida Everglades. The impact tore the aircraft apart. 101 people died, including both pilots and flight engineer Don Repo. Many of the bodies were never recovered. Survivors described the crash as something out of a nightmare. Fire, screams, and twisted metal engulfed in swampy darkness. But what truly unsettled some survivors wasn't just the physical trauma. It was what they claimed to see in those final moments. A figure walking through the wreckage, untouched by the fire. A man staring at them silently before vanishing into thin air. In the months that followed, Eastern Airlines made a controversial decision. Rather than letting the destroyed plane rest in peace, they salvaged parts from the wreckage, engines, ovens, and avionics, and installed them into other L-1011 aircrafts to cut costs. Most notably, Flight 318 received several key components from the doomed Flight 401. That's when the reports began. Flight attendants started noticing a strange man appearing during pre-flight checks. A man in an Eastern Airlines uniform who never boarded the plane. He'd be seen seated calmly in first class or standing silently near the galley. But when approached, he would vanish without a trace. One flight attendant swore she had a conversation with him. He told her everything would be fine, then simply disappeared in front of her eyes. Panicked, she reported it to the cockpit. When the captain saw a photo of the ghostly man, his face went pale. It was Don Repo. Soon, passengers were reporting him too. Some even described how the man looked straight at them and whispered, "Take care of the plane." Eastern Airlines tried to brush off the reports. They said it was stress, imagination, or perhaps trauma related to the crash. But then came an incident that changed everything. Flight attendant Faye Merriweather was preparing meals on board a flight using one of the ovens salvaged from Flight 401. As she opened the door, she let out a blood-curdling scream. Inside the oven's reflective surface, she didn't see her own face. She saw Don Repo staring back at her. His eyes were wide. He wasn't angry, He looked concerned. Then he spoke, not aloud, but as a voice in her head. "This plane is going to catch fire. Be careful." The flight crew immediately grounded the aircraft and requested a full inspection. Technicians found nothing. The warning seemed baseless. But just 2 days later, that same plane experienced an electrical fire mid-air. Thanks to the early preparations, the crew managed to land safely with no casualties. People started asking, why would a ghost try to save lives? From that point on, sightings of Don Repo became more frequent. Pilots, stewardesses, engineers, and passengers all described the same man, same uniform, same message, warning them of malfunctions before they occurred. In one case, a flight engineer swore he saw Repo checking instruments in the cockpit. When the engineer blinked, he was gone. Another pilot reportedly heard a voice whisper, "There's a problem with the landing gear," moments before discovering a serious fault. Don Repo was no longer a ghost of vengeance. He was becoming a guardian, a spirit tied to the sky, still doing his job. The airline couldn't deny the reports forever. Whispered conversations between staff became frequent. Pilots began refusing to fly planes that carried parts from Flight 401. Eventually, Eastern Airlines gave in. Quietly, without public announcement, they removed all salvaged parts from active aircrafts. They hoped it would end the hauntings, but it didn't. Even today, decades after the crash, Flight 401's legacy lives on. While most of the salvaged parts were destroyed or retired, it's believed that a few still remain, hidden inside old aircrafts, or perhaps in aviation museums. And so does the spirit of Don Repo. Aviation professionals still speak about the story in hushed tones, not because they doubt it, but because too many people saw him, heard him, were saved by him. It's said that if you're ever on a late-night flight and the air turns cold, if you feel someone watching from an empty seat, it might be him. Still working, still warning, still flying. Why do you think Don Repo's ghost kept returning? Was he protecting people out of duty, trying to earn redemption? Or was he simply unable to leave the skies behind? Drop your theory in the comments. Our favorite ones will be featured in the next video. If you love real horror stories where the paranormal meets the documented truth, hit that subscribe button. Because here at DeadScript, every tale is a script of death.